The sound of chanting cut through the stillness of the Orlando night. 6 figures stood in a circle, their faces hidden behind cheap Halloween masks, not the kind you buy for fun, but ones drawn with strange symbols and black ink. In the middle of their backyard, under a single flickering lantern, lay an old mirror cracked through the center. They said it came from her room, the girl who died last year. A gust of warm air brushed across the grass, though the night was cold. Then the mirror pulsed. One of them whispered, "It's working." But the voice that answered back wasn't one of theirs. Rewind to 2 weeks earlier. Eleanor Ellie Dunn was just another teenager in a quiet Orlando suburb. She'd been gone a year, drowned during a storm at a lake party near Winter Springs. Her friends, Tyler, Marcy, Evan and twins Blake and Brooke, never stopped talking about her, especially around Halloween. But this year felt different. Tyler had found something online, a ritual of return shared by a self-proclaimed witch from Miami. "It's not real," Marcy said, laughing when he showed her. But Tyler's eyes were glassy. What if it is? What if she just needs to find her way back? He didn't tell them about the message he got the night before. It was from Ellie's old account, "I'm still cold." The ritual was supposed to be a game. They gathered items Ellie loved, a bracelet, a photo, a sweater still smelling faintly of her perfume. The instructions said to form a circle, hold hands and repeat her name 13 times while staring into the mirror. But step 5 was odd. The final voice must not be human. Tyler read it twice, frowning. "It's just for effect," he said. Brooke recorded it on her phone, smiling nervously. But when they practiced, something moved in the reflection, a shadow that didn't belong to anyone there. They told themselves it was a trick of light. Still, they all felt it, like the mirror was listening. Halloween night came fast. The neighborhood buzzed with laughter, kids running between houses. But behind Tyler's house the air felt different, heavy, humid, almost breathing. They set the mirror in the dirt. Brooke's speaker played a faint hum, low, rhythmic, nearly like a heartbeat. Tyler lit a single black candle in the center. "No one breaks the circle," he said quietly. "No matter what happens." They joined hands. The chant began, "Ellie Dunn returned to us." The wind stirred. The flame tilted sideways. And from deep inside the mirror, something shimmered like water. Evan swore he saw movement, fingers pressing against the glass from the inside. "Do you see that?" he whispered. No one answered. The hum on the speaker started glitching, growing distorted like static whispering beneath it. Then Marcy screamed. The candle had gone out, but the glow didn't vanish. It came from below, seeping through the soil, turning the dirt faintly red. Tyler shouted, "Don't let go." Brooke tried to pull her hand free, but their palms stuck together, like their skin had melted into one another. Then came the voice, soft, shaking, "Wrong. I'm cold." The circle broke. Evan stumbled backward, grabbing his arm. His skin burned like frostbite. Marcy dropped to her knees, gasping, her eyes unfocused. Tyler stared at the mirror, where something small and pale crawled across the crack. It was Ellie's bracelet, the same one they'd placed in the dirt. But the hand wearing it wasn't human anymore. Translucent, veins dark like ink lines spreading through glass. Brooke dropped her phone. The recording kept going. Static swallowed her voice. Then under it all came another sound, quiet knocking. 1, 2, 3. From inside the mirror. Tyler grabbed the shovel they'd used to clear the dirt, swinging at the mirror, but the metal bent like it had hit stone. The mirror didn't crack. It pulsed again, red through silver. "Ellie," he shouted, "if you're there." His words cut off when the ground shifted. The candle rolled into the grass. Dirt began to sink inward, forming a small pit. Marcy crawled backward, crying, "She's coming through." They ran. Behind them, something pulled itself out of the earth. First the bracelet, then the hand, then a shoulder slick with mud and blood. The voice that followed was clear. "You shouldn't have called me." Neighbors later reported strange noises that night, scratching, muffled crying, laughter that didn't sound like children. When police came, they found the backyard empty except for a broken lantern, a phone still recording, and a mirror face down in the grass. The reflection showed only dirt, no faces, no sky. They marked it as vandalism. But the next morning, Tyler's parents found footprints on their porch, small, bare, and wet. Brooke's phone posted a story automatically at 3:17 a.m. The caption, "She's here." By the following day, none of the friends were answering their phones. Evan's mom said he left early for work and never came back. Marcy's car sat in her driveway, door open, engine still running. When police searched Tyler's house again, they found the mirror in the living room, clean, upright. Someone had written on the surface with what looked like mud, "One more night." Investigators took it in as evidence, but during transit the van's dashcam footage glitched, lights flickered, audio hissed, and for 3 seconds a girl's voice whispered through, "You found me." Halloween in Orlando ended like any other. Candy wrappers, laughter, porch lights flicking off one by one. But behind one dark house on Oak Ridge Lane, the mirror glowed faintly, breathing fog across the grass. A faint voice murmured from its surface, "Not Ellie's, not anyone living." Inside the reflection, a group of shadowy figures gathered again, repeating the chant. This time the last voice wasn't human. It was hers, calm, cold, and waiting. And that's when the knocking started again. 1, 2, 3. Only now it was coming from the other side of the door. The mirror in evidence sat alone on the metal table under a bright hospital lamp. Detectives had wrapped it in a white sheet, then unwrapped it again for photographs. The writing "One more night" was still on the glass, smeared like wet mud. Officer Ramirez tapped the surface with a gloved finger. The sound was dull, not like glass, more like someone knocking from inside a chest. The tiny evidence tag read, "Evid 314, Oak Ridge Lane." The tech who processed the tape from Brooks' phone kept replaying the last 3 seconds. Static, then a girl's voice saying, clear and flat, "You found me." Nobody smiled. The city was quiet that morning, but under the hush something waited. News vans came by noon. Reporters read short scripts about teen ritual and possible vandalism. A local pastor called for prayer. A neighbor started a social feed with a shaky cell video of footprints in wet grass. The clip went viral before lunch. Mayor's office posted a short statement, "We're investigating." Families who lived near Oak Ridge Lane pulled their curtains tight and kept their kids inside. In restaurants people whispered, some worried, some angry, and on the internet the Mirror became a headline with 1,000 comments. Scary prank, some wrote. Fake news, others wrote. But Tyler's house sat empty, and the house that had once echoed with teens and laughter felt like a small, bruised place. Detective Alvarez interviewed Tyler, Marcy, and Brooke separately. Each was pale and quiet. None could explain the footage that showed the bracelet moving along the glass as if being worn. Evan was missing. He had gone to work and never arrived. Phone pings showed movement that hopped strangely through the map, past the lake, through a patch of woods, and then nowhere. The detectives found Brooks' phone under a porch, still recording. The LED blinked, the audio was a wet hiss and timestamp, 3:17 a.m. They tried to trace the source of the Mirror's antique glass. The dealer in town swore he had never sold such a thing. Someone else posted a blurry photo of a warehouse on the outskirts with a stack of similar mirrors. No one wanted to drive out there. The first official statement from the sheriff's department came late that afternoon. "We are treating the incident seriously," it said. "We have evidence and witnesses." In the background a TV anchor held up a small black candle and smiled in a way that made a lot of people uneasy. Judd Crandall, old, steady and tired, sat in his kitchen and watched it all. He had been the one who told the creeds about places that remembered wrong. He knew what a circle could do when people believed too hard. That night he walked his property line, checking the boundary stones and the little wooden crosses he kept near the trees. He felt watched, as if the woods had eyes that followed him like a slow animal. As the hours passed, more things went missing. Evan's car was found emptied on the highway shoulder with the keys in the ignition and the radio still playing. Brooks' dog vanished from the yard, leaving fur on the gate. Tyler's backyard showed new marks in the soil, as if someone had scraped at it with a hand. The city's phones filled with calls, people saying they heard a small knocking at night, or a child singing a song in the gutters. A pastor reported that his church door had been knocked 3 times at midnight, and nobody stood on the other side. Each report sounded small and strange, but together they made a map of worry stretching across Orlando neighborhoods. The Mirror was moved to a secured room at the county evidence facility. Cameras watched it like a museum artifact. For a day nothing happened. Then in the middle of the night the feed glitched. The guard on duty swore he heard knocking in the hallway and walked down to check the main lock. The video showed him return shaking, eyes wide. He reached for his radio and called dispatch. By morning his hands left prints on the stainless steel that showed the outline of small, cold fingers. Engineers checked the recording equipment and found audio frequencies that matched none of their models. Deep, low waves under the normal sound, like a slow heartbeat running under static. The lab sent the files to the university acoustics department. The university said only, "This is anomalous." Online, strangers began to flood chat rooms with old stories about the county, tales of drowned girls, missing pets, glass that breathed. A user posted a link to an old local paper clipping. A child had disappeared at a lake decades ago. The family had a mirror in their home, the article said, and the mirror was last seen smashed. The post gathered thousands of shares. People wanted an answer, a label, something to hold. Others wanted ritual supplies, black candles, salt, mirrors. Some sellers reported a spike in sales. A few teenagers, watching the viral clips, tried their own small circles in backyards, laughing while they chanted. Most stopped after the candle went out too quick or the mirror trembled. A handful, however, posted videos that never showed their faces again. Judd went to see the Creeds. He found Louis hollow-faced in the kitchen, nodding only briefly. Rachel kept her hands folded in her lap, voice small. "We told the kids not to go near the lake," she said, and then the words went quiet. Louis had watched the footage from Brooke's phone as if it were a lecture. He had seen the pale hand, the bracelet, and the mud. He had felt the old place call him before, felt its cold pulse under his fingers. Judd put his hand on Louis's shoulder and said nothing. Outside the window, the moon was low and bright. Somewhere down the street there was a soft knocking. By the fourth night, the knocking had become part of the town's soundscape. People described it like a tapping at their doors, 3 soft knocks, paused, then another 3. Some said the knock answered before they could think to open the door. The sheriff asked residents to keep records if they heard anything, a hotline number filled with new reports. Families banded together, radios on, candles ready. In one house an older woman stood by her bedroom door counting the knocks aloud until dawn. In another, a child whispered that she heard laughter on the roof. The pattern spread outward like ripples in a pond. Journalists called it a phenomenon. Priests called it a test. The internet called it content. On the 10th day the evidence room alarm blared. Staff rushed in to find the mirror cracked down the center, the mud letters smeared into nothing. On the playback from the previous hour, a single frame repeated 3 times. The glass bowed inward like skin over a mouth. The audio picked up a clear phrase layered under the hiss, "One more night." The tech who sat closest to the frame swore he felt a breath on his neck, cold as a river. That same night, across Orlando, every door in a swath of suburbs answered to the same sound. 1, 2, 3, then a pause, as if some hand were counting on the other side. Residents called police and phones rang unanswered. Outside, under the low moon, a small, pale shape crossed a yard and disappeared into the fog. The city lights blinked. Then the knocking began again, louder, and this time it came from every direction. Fade to black.